When you purchase a Blastedall ECO, you get to choose between a 12 CFM and a 21 CFM blast gun. They look almost identical. So we're going to talk about the differences between the two and why you might choose one over the other. All the components of these guns are identical except the jet and the nozzle. The CFM requirement is determined by the size of the jet. The nozzle size is paired with the jet to provide the best possible suction. Probably the biggest factor in choosing the gun is the CFM requirement. CFM stands for cubic feet per minute. This is the amount of air that it needs for the guns to work properly. Most people looking for an abrasive blasting cabinet already have a compressor. You may be looking at your compressor and thinking, that's a pretty big tank, surely it's big enough. But it doesn't have to do as much with the tank as it does the compressor. This is a 21-gallon, 175 max, 1.5 horsepower, 4 CFM compressor. The tank on a compressor is kind of like a savings account. When it was empty, the compressor worked long and hard to fill it up to 21 gallons at 175 psi. When you start running the 12 CFM gun, it's going to start draining it at 12 CFM. When it reaches around 140 psi, the compressor is going to kick in and begin filling the tank at 4 CFM while it continues to be drained at 12 CFM. There is no way this compressor can keep up with these guns. So you have two options. You can either blast as long as you can and then wait for the tank to refill, or you can get a large enough compressor to run the guns. We suggest a larger CFM compressor than the gun required because manufacturers have a way of stretching the truth on their CFM specifications, and the older the machine gets, the less likely it's going to perform exactly as it did when you first brought it home. The other reason is that most compressors were not designed to run all the time. They were designed to fill the tank, take a break, and then fill the tank up again. If you run the compressor all the time, you're likely to burn your compressor out. Now, if you choose the blast as long as you can method, you can expect to get about 30 seconds before the compressor kicks in, and at about another minute or so of useful blasting before you have to stop and wait for the compressor to fill back up. That's going to take around 10 minutes for it to fill all the way back up so that you can begin again. Someone may be thinking, why not use a smaller gun, like the 7 CFM one everyone else uses? Well, there's a funny story about that. I ordered one of those guns, and it isn't really 7 CFM. If you want to see what it really is, there's a link to the video in the description where we go over the 7 CFM gun. The other major factor when choosing which gun will work best for you is how much media these guns can put out. The amount of media that can be delivered is going to impact the pace of your work. Blasting something with a 12 CFM gun will take longer than blasting with the 21 CFM gun. This doesn't mean that you should run right out and purchase a 21 CFM gun. It all depends on what you're blasting. There's about a 15 to 20% decrease in the amount of time when you go from the 12 CFM to the 21 CFM gun. If you're frosting glass or engraving a brick, 20% decrease in the time for something that takes less than a minute is not a lot of time. But if you're doing an embossed sign that takes 18 minutes with a 12 CFM gun, you could shave off around 3.5 minutes with a 21 CFM gun. If you're working on small parts to remove rust, the 12 CFM is going to work well. The other thing to consider with these guns is the media sizes that will work well for them. Obviously, it's the smaller media sizes that are going to work best, but these are also the ones that fit well for most applications of the ECO blast cabinet and guns with smaller nozzles. These are the largest sizes that we would recommend in each media. For glass beads, number 8. Crushed glass, number 4. aluminum oxide 60 grit, plastic 20/30, garnet 80, and of course, soda. We don't recommend that you use any type of organic media in the ECO cabinet. This should give you a better idea of which gun works best for you, or if you might need a bigger compressor before you purchase your new machine. If you'd like to know more about the ECO or these guns, you can find a link in the description below. If you want to learn more about the abrasive blasting, hit like and subscribe buttons and turn on notifications so you don't miss any upcoming videos.